Welcome to today's Explainer. If you've ever looked at your own life and just felt this deep, unexplainable weight, if you've ever felt like your journey is just inexplicably harder than the people around you, I really want you to know that I hear you, and you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're exploring a really fascinating analysis of biblical texts that actually reveals the hidden signs behind life's most unexplained hardships. We're going to look at why certain types of suffering might not just be random bad luck, but actually deliberate markers of a really unique calling. It's a huge paradox, isn't it? Have you ever agonized over this very question? Why is it that the exact moment you decide to choose the right path, or really try to get closer to your faith, it seems to just invite more pain, more struggle, and way more isolation? It completely defies our basic logic. We tend to think that doing the right thing should automatically yield an easier life, but the source material we're unpacking today suggests something completely different. Okay, let's dive right into this. The text we're analyzing presents this stark, really fascinating contrast: a comfortable life versus a life of great purpose. The core thesis here is that God doesn't select people just to hand them a life of ease. Instead, He deliberately prepares them for a magnificent purpose. And that preparation? Well, it happens through hardship. It's essentially the difference between a life of quiet convenience and a life specifically forged for something massive. So, to understand how this works, here's our roadmap for today. We'll decode the mystery of hardship and then walk through 5 specific pains: rejection, deep loneliness, inner struggle, sacrifice, and finally, the long wait. Let's look at how this is actually a highly organized divine process.
All right, let's start with pain number 1, rejection by people.
We've all felt the sting of this, right? When friends, and sometimes even your own family members, suddenly start distancing themselves from you for no apparent reason. You haven't had a fight, you literally haven't done anything wrong, yet the gap between you and the people you love just keeps growing wider. Well, the analysis provides a really profound reason for this sudden distance. As your heart changes and you pursue a different path, your life unintentionally challenges others. People feel that shift. The reality is, not everyone can handle your specific calling. Many people simply cannot walk alongside you on the unique path that's been laid out for you, and that leads to a divine separation, which is entirely meant to protect your destiny.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it completely reframes our entire understanding of failure. Historical biblical figures totally prove this. Just look at Joseph, who was literally sold into slavery by his own brothers, or Jesus, who was rejected by his very own hometown. Their rejection wasn't because they failed at all. It was a necessary, albeit super painful, divine redirection to their ultimate greatness.
And that brings us to pain number 2, deep loneliness.
We aren't just talking about being physically alone here. Actually, scratch that. It's more about that profound, unexplainable emptiness you feel even when you're sitting in a room completely surrounded by people who know your name. On one side, you have the crowd engaging in everyday chatter, talking about tomorrow's weather or weekend plans. But on the other side, your mind is entirely consumed by grand plans, deep spiritual thoughts, and just this relentless push to do something greater. That massive gap in wavelength is exactly what creates such profound internal isolation.
The text highlights this really powerful microstory to emphasize the point: Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was fighting his absolute toughest battle, sweating and agonizing while his closest friends were literally sleeping nearby. Or think about John the Baptist, who spent years in the isolated wilderness. The lesson here is pretty striking. God's deepest work almost always happens in absolute isolation, because that is where His voice is the loudest.
Next up is pain number 3, constant inner struggle.
Because when you're alone with your thoughts, an exhausting internal war begins. This is an invisible battle where your deep desire to do the right thing and please God constantly collides with your own human weakness, your distractions, and your doubts. Just look at the Apostle Paul, one of the most influential figures in biblical history. Even he faced this excruciating internal battle. And the explainer makes a really vital point here. Your struggle isn't a sign of weak faith. If you were totally lost, you wouldn't even be struggling. The struggle itself is actual proof that a higher spirit is actively working inside you.
Negative forces are going to target you with guilt and shame precisely because of your potential. They want you to feel unworthy of your calling. But listen, every single time you fall, experience that guilt, and then actively choose to rise again and return to your path, your character becomes infinitely stronger. The struggle is literally the forge.
Let's transition over to the 4th pain, the pain of sacrifice.
So, the crucial point here is that this isn't just about passively losing things. You will be asked to intentionally sacrifice completely normal, good things. Just as Abraham was asked to leave his perfectly fine home and Moses was asked to leave the absolute luxury of a palace, you might have to leave good things behind, because ultimately, they are blocking your specific future purpose.
In real life, this hurts deeply. Leaving specific friendships, breaking old comfortable habits, totally shifting your entire life's direction while people maybe even mock your choices, it's agonizing. But the analysis reassures us that letting go of worldly comfort is simply the necessary mechanism for making room for something far, far better. You literally can't hold the future if your hands are completely full of the past.
And finally, we arrive at the fifth and arguably most agonizing pain, the long wait.
Just look at how brutal this wait can be. Let's walk through this timeline. Joseph receives his divine promise at just 17 years old. And what follows? Not immediate glory, but years of slavery, betrayal, and literally rotting in a dark prison. David, another major biblical figure, was anointed king but then spent years hiding out in caves like a common criminal. They endured years of painful silence and suffering just to be properly forged for their ultimate leadership roles.
The ultimate takeaway here? God doesn't delay, He prepares. This long, painful wait means you absolutely haven't been forgotten. It's basically a masterclass in patience. It's designed to deepen your faith and teach you total dependence before that ultimate blessing is unlocked, ensuring you actually have the character to handle the destiny when it finally arrives.
So this brings all our narrative threads together into one incredibly clear thesis, broken to be built. Rejection, loneliness, inner struggle, sacrifice, and waiting. These 5 pains, according to the source texts, are never meant to destroy you. They're tools. They are deliberately meant to break down your old self so you can be built up and fully equipped for your true calling. And the text offers this immense comfort, reminding us that through all of this, you are seen. Every secret tear, every silent prayer in the middle of the night, every single moment of isolation is witnessed. The message here is that the divine presence is actually closest to you right now, in the very moments you feel most crushed.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really reflect on. Which of these 5 pains are you experiencing right now? Whether it's the sting of rejection or the sheer exhaustion of the long wait, I hope this breakdown empowers you with the thought that your current pain isn't a punishment. It's the secret architecture building your magnificent future. Keep moving forward, and I'll catch you next time.